of having obtained his heavyweight title from a trash can. The belt that then champion Riddick Bowe ceremoniously discarded to avoid a mandatory defense against the #1 contender, Lennox Lewis. 17 months later, the boxing public and mass media are still unsure of what to make of Lennox Lewis. Is he, in fact, a legitimate heavyweight champion? Or is he a champion on paper only, whose claim to the title is fictitious? He won the gold medal in the 1988 Summer Olympics by easily defeating Riddick Bowe. 3 years into his professional career, Lewis was not only undefeated, but also untested.
As a professional, he's been dining on tomato cans.
You know, there's a certain amount of opponents that you need for a learning process and to take you through a learning process. So it doesn't do me any good, you know, going in there against good guys that are going to make me look bad.
In the 4th year of his professional career, Lewis scored an impressive second-round knockout of highly regarded #1 contender Razor Ruddock.
Right hand by Lewis. Ruddock goes down.
Many doubts accompanied Lewis into the ring at Earl's Court, but few remained after he dropped Ruddock.
Anytime I get a little criticism and I can go in a fight and actually prove them wrong, that makes me feel all the much better as a boxer.
Lewis's first title defense was against well-traveled 33-year-old Tony Tucker. Despite 2 knockdowns of Tucker, Lewis's 12-round performance was judged unimpressive by ringside reporters.
The story of the fight wasn't so much that Tony Tucker survived 2 knockdowns, but that Lennox survived it all. The reputation of the British WBC heavyweight champ took something of a beating in his first defense.
I went into the fight with an injury, and to do what I did, knock him down 3 times, something Tyson couldn't do, really made me feel good.
5 months later, Lewis met fellow Englishman Frank Bruno, Britain's most beloved loser. In a spectacle billed as the biggest fight in English history, Lewis was clearly losing until he produced a dramatic 7th-round knockout.
It was a left hook that turned this around, and a frozen Frank Bruno is there taking punishment. And Mickey Van is going to stop it.
For Lewis, it hardly looked invincible. Vincible might be closer to the truth.
Frank Bruno has made a lot of boxers look beatable. And Bone Crusher Smith, Tim Weatherspoon, and Mike Tyson, they've all looked beatable. You know, I just go on the same line as them.
He holds the WBC title. He has never lost a professional fight. Yet the jury remains undecided. Tonight, you judge for yourself. Lennox Lewis, heavyweight champion. Fact or fiction? One thing is factual for sure. Tonight, Lennox Lewis defends his WBC heavyweight title against Phil Jackson. For Lewis, an opportunity to prove to the American public that he is more than just a paper champion. And the crowd here, still buzzing over the Kevin Kelly performance, gets ready now to watch the heavyweights enter the ring. A few of them have traveled all the way from London, England to root for their man, Lennox Lewis, first British heavyweight champion in more than 100 years. Now, Larry Merchant, you suggested at the top of the show that the big-name American heavyweights have to a large degree been ducking Lennox Lewis. This despite the fact that he is battered in print and by boxing experts here all the time. I'm sure that a lot of the heavyweights would dispute you and say that they're not ducking him, but assuming that you're on the money, what is it that they see in him that the experts don't see?
Well, first, Jim, let me address the strange phenomenon of American heavyweight champions, what I think are ducking Lennox Lewis. I mean, for a century, American heavyweights have been chasing British heavyweights all over the planet, wherever they can find them. It was considered a vacation with pay. Now, whatever Lennox Lewis is, he's not a vacation. He has been belabored for one flaw or another for the chinks in his armor, but it's interesting that the managers and trainers of his potential opponents see that armor as rather formidable. They see a big, strong fighter, highly motivated, very athletic, and he can take you out with either hand. Now, whether the criticism is just or unjust, it is Lennox Lewis's job to win over the hearts and minds of all the skeptics.
Do you ever feel a little bit lonely as the one boxing editorialist who seems most given to speaking favorably about Lewis?
Well, Jim, sometimes you have to climb out on the limb to see the field.
All right, well, we'll learn more tonight about your point of view as opposed to the many others. George Foreman, let's talk about Phil Jackson, the challenger here, for a second. This is a guy who has 27 knockouts and 30 wins, but like many fighters in the sport, his career is defined by his one loss. It was a 4-round knockout at the hands of Razor Ruddock a couple of years ago, in which Jackson freely concedes that he quits. He took a knee in order not to take any more punishment from Ruddock. Now, he says that he's changed and that doesn't mean anything anymore. You tell me, does it mean nothing or does it mean everything?
It means everything. You get a reputation as a quitter, it follows you for the rest of your life. He knows now that he's on the spot. He's got to give this fight everything he's got. He's got to buck. If he's knocked down, he's got to get up 4 times to prove that he's still a good fighter. That's going to be hard to come by tonight.
Well, he comes from the poorest, toughest section of Miami, Overtown. He's got 9 children. This is a guy who is hungry for some exposure and some money. Will that hunger produce a big effort here tonight?
That hunger could produce a good effort, but let me tell you, it's the wrong thing to be hungry against a puncher like Lennox Lewis.
All right. So both men are suggesting that this could be a quick and easy night for Lewis. Meanwhile, our up-close and personal look at Lewis is a bit of a change of pace. A day in the life of Lewis's training camp.
Yeah, I'm up. All right. I need to get that right hand up a bit. Now, I figure it's such a nice day that I'll take my bike, you know, just to warm up my legs just before I go into the gym. Now, the right hand is the hand that I usually knock people out with, and everybody's worried about my right hand, but I got a surprise for them.
Beautiful piece of work. Rhythm is going? Yes, rhythm is right. First part around, just move. I don't care if it's no more than 3 or 4 seconds. Move, make him look for you a couple times, and then you sit down with your jabs, right? You got to know that you can do it.
My sparring partners are trying to hurt me, so I have to try and stay out of the way of their punches, because they punch hard. Right now, I'm just sitting here and relaxing and trying to calm down because my heart rate was working at such a high pace up in the ring. I need to calm down just a bit. And this is where I do my sit-ups.
Champ, how'd the training go today?
It went pretty good. It went really good. I was really impressed in today's workout. As you can see, today I have to take some time with the news media and answer some questions. They wanted to see Lennox Lewis and Bruno, and I think it was a good matchup, not only for the country, for the whole of Europe. I seem to be going against these kind of opponents because I want to become the undisputed heavyweight champion of the world. In training, a boxer always has to get his beauty sleep, so I have to make sure I get a lot of beauty sleep. I don't need it.
Just ask how many times he gets beat.
Does it in his sleep. Most of everybody in training camp have to learn how to play chess, because I like beating up on each one of them every day. This hill, it's hard work, but you gotta do it. Yes! A worm. This is the kind of recreation they allow me to do. One time, I caught a big fish about this big. Well, this big. Yes, after a good long day at the office, training for me, any good Englishman would tell you there's nothing like a good spot of tea to end the day. Cheers.
No spot of tea for Phil Jackson. Maybe a little conch soup as he gets ready for this first championship fight of his career. A late comer to boxing. He was a high school football star from Miami Beach High School. Had a couple of minor scrapes with the law. At age 20, he was lured into a boxing gym, wound up having a pretty good amateur career, made it deep into the qualifying for the United States Olympic team in 1988, and then turned professional 5 years ago. Hasn't had many of those 10-round unanimous decisions. He has one of the highest knockout percentages to be found in any weight class, with 27 knockouts in his 31 fights.
I remember a heavyweight who was branded a quitter because it seemed that he had quit in a heavyweight championship fight, actually. Then he went on to fight another championship fight. His name was Buster Douglas.
And here's the record for Phil Jackson: 30 wins, 1 loss, no draws, 27 KOs. You can see that he is ranked as the number 5 contender by the WBC, which originally went to court to try to block this fight, insisting that Lewis should be meeting the number 1 contender, Oliver McCall. The courts sided in favor of the maintenance of this bout if Lewis agreed to go ahead and fight McCall later on this summer. And now here comes the reigning WBC champion. Last fight, October 1 of '93 in Cardiff, Wales. This will be an entirely different walk to the ring than was the case that night for the Bruno fight, when the temperature was down in the 40s. It was past 1 a.m. and there was a light rain with sleet falling on a canopy above the ring.
What he's finding out is that, as all the heavyweight champions have discovered, that you're only as good as your last fight, that every fight is a review, like a Broadway opening of a stage play. But the one difference is that his reviews are not only bad reviews, but they are followed up by saying he's an imposter, that he really isn't in much as a heavyweight champion, and I certainly disagree with that.
Larry, would he be treated more favorably by American reporters if he were an American fighter?
Well, I don't think anybody is deliberately or consciously putting him down because he's not American, but I do believe that if an American heavyweight had won a bronze and gold medal at the Olympics, if he was undefeated and if he was the most dangerous puncher on the planet, that he might get a little bit more respect.
Yet another long stretch of inactivity, as you saw from the graphic leading up to this fight. There's the record: 24 fights, 24 wins, 20 by knockout. And he became the WBC heavyweight champion when Riddick Bowe relinquished the belt in December of 1992, rather than to meet the WBC's mandate that he go ahead and fight Lewis. Tail of the tape, you can see that Lennox Lewis, who weighed 228 in his best effort, his second-round knockout of Ruddock, weighed in here at 235, a 17-pound weight advantage over Jackson. He's 5 inches taller. He's got a 5-inch advantage in reach.
Heavyweights sometimes tend to step on the scales wearing a lot of clothes, and I thought Lewis, with all the clothing he had on him, that he was probably closer to 230 than 235.
Punch stat numbers, Larry.
And here's a look at how active they are. Jackson is not active at all, and he's going to have to make the fight here. There you see the jabs. Jackson is going to have to come through Lewis's big jab to get close to him.
Rules of the bout with our unofficial ringside scorer, Harold Letterman.
Lennox Lewis and Phil Jackson will box tonight using the rules of the World Boxing Council. 12 rounds. There is no standing 8 count. No 3 knockdown rule. You cannot be saved by the bell in any round, including the last. Only the referee can stop the fight. And if a cut is caused by an accidental headbutt, and that cut causes the fight to be stopped, we go to the scorecards after 3 rounds have been completed. Before that, it's a technical draw. Jim.
Beautiful, Harold. Right now, let's go up to ring announcer Michael Buffer for the pre-fight introductions.
And Main Events Incorporated, along with your undisputed, undefeated king of beers, Budweiser, proud to be your bud, present the featured bout of the evening. This bout is presented in association with Panics Promotions. It is sanctioned by the New Jersey State Athletic Control Board, Boxing Commissioner Larry Hazard Sr., Chairman Jerry Gormley, board members Gary Shaw and Al Daniels, Chief Physician at ringside, Dr. Frank B. Doggett, attending physicians Dr. Howard Taylor and Dr. Ken Remsen. The timekeeper is Roosevelt Gilbert. Chief Inspector ringside, Sylvester Kyler. This bout is also sanctioned by the World Boxing Council, WBC Supervisor John Alati Coffey. The 3 judges assigned to ringside, scoring the bout on a 10-point must system, are John Keane, Bob Logist, and John Stewart. And when the bell rings, the man in charge of the action, working for the 113th time in a world title bout, referee Arthur Mercante. And now, ladies and gentlemen, from Atlantic City's Convention Hall here on the Boardwalk in Atlantic City, New Jersey, let's get ready to rumble! 12 rounds of boxing for the WBC Heavyweight Championship of the World. Introducing first, fighting out of the blue corner, wearing the black trunks with gold trim, weighing in at 218 pounds. He comes to us tonight from Miami, Florida, with a professional record of 30 victories, 27 by KO. Only 1 defeat. He is ranked number 5 in the world by the WBC. Tonight, he is a man on a mission. Ladies and gentlemen, introducing the challenger, Philip Jackson. His opponent across the ring, fighting out of the red corner, wearing the black trunks with red trim, weighing in at 235 pounds. This 1988 Olympic gold medalist as a super heavyweight now is undefeated as a professional. His record, 24-0, 20 KOs to his credit. He comes to us from East London, England. Ladies and gentlemen, presenting the undefeated WBC Heavyweight Champion of the World, Lennox Lewis.
Good evening, Lennox and Phil. You both know the rules of the WBC. We expect you to obey these rules, and I'll enforce them. Shake hands now. Return to your corners. Good luck.
Jim, Lennox Lewis, like Michael Moore, is intuitively a counter puncher. Like Michael Moore, he's going to have, in his last fight, when he dethroned Evander Holyfield, he may have to start to make the fight here, unless Jackson comes at him so strongly that he plays right into his counter punching.
For his part, Jackson said he would be determined to try to make Lewis back up. Lewis expects Jackson to come at him low, much as another opponent, Levi Billups, did in a fight that went the full 10 rounds. Experts believe that Lewis can be better if he stops holding that left hand out there and pawing with the jab and goes back to throwing it sharply and following it with power punches. There's a right hand, and down goes Jackson.
5, 6, 7, well, 8. We'll find out right quick whether Jackson's going to fight back.
Jackson says that in his other big occasion against Razor Ruddock, he froze. Here he finally throws a punch. It's a wide winging left hook. He's going to be an easy target, George, if he keeps throwing him like that.
Lewis only want to land one good right hand at a time. It seems that Jackson awful confused because Lennox Lewis puts his hands so close to Jackson, yet his body is so far from his hands. So when you throw those hooks afterwards, as Jackson is doing, you miss by a major margin.
That over-the-top right hand, diving down at the fighter as he tries to duck away from the punch, is exactly the one that hurt Ruddock and set up the second round knockout.
That's pretty clever what Lewis is doing. He had his hands real close to Jackson, but his body so far away.
And there's the winging right hand again over the top. Now Jackson seems to see where it's coming from anyway. Bill Jackson's supporters claim he should be seen as a very hard puncher. Lewis's detractors don't believe he likes to go in against hard punches.
Jackson has got to find his range. Try not to get so close to Lewis's hand. Get close to his body.
A first-round knockout would look good on the dossier, and Lewis seems to be thinking about it at least a little bit. But he is cautious as well. Smiling now at the wide winging punches of Jackson as he backs away. Good sharp jab by Lennox Lewis. Didn't follow it up. Jackson mostly throwing power punches and missing. Now Lewis begins to stick the jab, and it's clearly going to bother Phil Jackson. A first round in which Lennox Lewis scored a knockdown of Phil Jackson, but didn't bring a lot of ammunition behind.
Easy and recover. Easy and recover. Yep. Give me the ball. Give me the ball. We're going to take it out. Rinse and spit.
Let's see that quick flash knockdown from that right hand, right behind that left. Cut Jackson right on the point of the chin. Straight right hand. Jackson nodded on his way down.
It's done. And you're waiting a little bit too much, okay? You're hitting, you got to jump on it. I want you to come behind the jab. You've got a great jab, but you got to break on the jab, that power jab. You understand? Break on the jab.
Both corners out, maybe.
Okay. Stay with the jab, man.
The voice in Jackson's corner, his trainer Pat Burns, a heavily decorated Miami policeman. Lewis's trainer remains Pepe Correa. Correa has been with Lewis since before the Ruddock fight. Came in for a ton of criticism after Lewis's desultory performance in the first 6 rounds of the Bruno fight this past fall.
Lewis has a good jab, but he seems to put his right foot in jail. Once he set that thing down, he's not able to just pick it up and move. You almost have to stay on the ball of your right foot like a track star getting ready to take off. When you lay that thing down as big as those feet are, it's hard to get them up.
Jackson supporters at ringside screaming for him to go in and get closer to Lewis. Easier said than done. George, why doesn't Lewis just snap the jab and dominate with it like that?
He's, you know, it's caution first. Sometimes in order to get a good jab, you got to say, hey, I may get caught, but I'm going to hit him. And Lewis is not willing to get hit.
Is that because of what Larry describes as his instinct to be a natural counterpuncher?
That's exactly it. He wants to hit you after you miss him. It's like, I'll hit you, but as soon as you miss me. Counterpuncher's temperament is, let me duck first.
And then take the easy shot.
Yes. They're not going to do anything unless they duck first or move backwards.
Lewis's jab, the dominant weapon here in round 2. Jackson hasn't yet been able to get close enough to Lewis to create some infighting. Try to throw him off stride with a little brawling technique. There's a jab from Jackson. His trainer, Pat Burns, says it's a good one.
That's a great thing. If Jackson is able to establish, I can jab you, I think Lennox Lewis could panic.
Bruno certainly hurt Lewis with the jab.
The taller fellows with the greater reach, they don't like being jabbed. They think something is wrong. They panic. Oh, maybe I'm doing wrong.
Round 2 comes to a close, a round largely dominated by Lennox Lewis's left jab.
You can step around more. Okay, now he's only looking for the right jab now, right? Occasionally drop the hard right hand, lean on it, and come back with a left hook. Put your punches now right around behind.
And as the two corners talk to their respective fighters, we're joined here at ringside by the new IBF and WBA World Heavyweight Champion, Michael Moore. Champ, let me be the first to give you a little bit more credit than we managed to give you a couple of weeks ago on a terrific fight plan that paid off and you're winning the championship.
Thank you very much.
Good job with your jab. Does it strike you that Lennox Lewis should be more aggressive in using his?
Well, he's using his reach and his height and probably the weight advantage. He's doing the right thing, staying on the outside. If Jackson was smart enough, he'd come inside and take his arm jab away, you know, just stay on the inside so he doesn't have the power of his punches.
You think the knockdown in the first round was the product of Jackson's nervousness?
Probably. It's just great. You know, he got over the nervousness. Now he's starting to be a little bit more busier now.
Michael Moore, referred to by almost all American reporters and some English ones as the real heavyweight champion, will now stay with us in round 3 as Jackson lands his best punch of the fight, a right hand over the top that backed Lewis up.
I don't know why Lewis just doesn't want to take any chances. He's making a hard fight, an easy fight hard for himself by not stepping in with that jab.
There he jabs twice and throws the right hand over the top. Michael, does Lennox Lewis telegraph that right hand, or is it tough to see it coming?
He telegraphs it a lot. That's the only punch he relies on. He tries to blind the guy with the jab and come over with the right hand.
Do you think of him as someone who would have a lot of trouble with your southpaw style?
You never know until a fight takes place, so I'm not going to sit here and answer it, because you never know.
How interested are you in a unification title?
I'm not interested in it right now. I'm not saying down the road, you know, I just want some time to myself and relax a little bit for my son. I've been traveling for the last 2 weeks doing interviews and things, and you know, I'm here to look at the fight and have a good time. But probably early spring, we'll probably get it on.
Might that be your next defense, or do you lean toward taking another fight first?
I'll have to sit down and talk to my manager and trainer and see what they want to do together.
We're talking with IBF and WBA World Heavyweight Champion Michael Moore. And Michael, thanks for taking the time to join us.
You're welcome.
Enjoy the rest of the fight.
Thank you very much.
You're quite welcome. Round 3, a round in which Phil Jackson finally got on the board and has landed a couple of more blows to Lennox Lewis's head, and now misses with a wild right and a wild left, but has become the aggressor a little bit here in round 3. George?
Lewis, as good a boxer as he is, he's got to stop dropping his hands. A lot of the punches that Jackson, he's throwing punches, but he's not looking at what he's doing. You can wind up dropping him with one of those wild shots just because your hands are near your waist.
Is he doing it, though, to invite Jackson to come in and throw and give him some opportunity?
Exactly. He's that counter puncher, but you can't get away with it. This guy is smaller, probably quicker reacting.
Lewis again sticking the jab as he did throughout round 2.
When you're the heavyweight champ of the world, a lot of times you'll fight guys that you're better than. They seem to give up. But when you're fighting for the title, you make a bad fighter good.
Well, Jackson's certainly excited now after having looked a little bit fearful back in round 1.
Beautiful round. Beautiful round, Lennox. listen now. Nice and suave, everybody. Listen. I want you to start, when you shoot that jab, to crack that hard right hand behind his elbows and come back with the hook for it, right? Okay. Do not stand up straight. As long as you, excuse me one second, as long as you move into your left with your jab, you are taking away his left hook completely. That's all this sucker have is a left hook. All right? Good. Now stay with that jab of yours. Also, when he goes to shoot his jab...
Here's the one good punch that Jackson landed in the fight. The right hand didn't have full power behind it.
Body. You had him over here with his hands down, and you didn't work. When you get there, you gotta let him go. You understand? Work. Come on, Philip. Let's go.
Right? Every once in a while, try this. He's there for it.
Fans want to see the heavyweight champion make the fight, not just take the fight. That's why Lewis has difficulty getting people to respect.
Lewis, a couple of years ago, was a lot better fighter than you see today. Someone has been trying to show him how to box. Never was a boxer. He's just a good right-hand puncher. He would blind you like a man who couldn't see with that left hand, then throw that right. He's not even doing that effectively anymore.
Stop holding, back up. Don't hit on a break. Break!
Well, there were many experts who suggested after the Bruno fight last fall that Lewis should dump trainer Pepe Correa, that the style matchup wasn't working. But Lewis said he was loyal to his guy and was going to stay that way.
Well, you can be loyal and keep your trainer, but add another. Bring someone else in. You don't just drop people, just add another. Right now, he needs someone to re-identify his style with. He's lost it. Doesn't know what to do. He doesn't know how to move.
Does anyone spring to your mind as the right kind of person to bring the aggression back to Lennox's game plan?
He's going to have to find that original trainer. Some of the people who were with him in Canada in his amateur career, get them back into the camp. Let them speak their piece.
Certainly the material is there for a devastating puncher.
He's got everything. A lot of what he had has gone. This guy's still one of the best punchers I've ever seen in my life as a heavyweight.
Don't hit on a break. Let's go.
Now he's trying to box with his right hand cocked back, like a guy getting ready to draw his pistol.
Good right hand to the body. More of that wouldn't hurt. Wide winging shots by Jackson. Lewis doesn't try to take advantage for a counter.
Anytime that Jackson decides to jab twice and throw a right hand, he'll drop Lewis. He's only jabbing one jab at a time.
There are 3 jabs and a right to the lower hip.
Bring it up hot top and it'll land.
Lewis with a good feint, looking down at the body and sticking the jab to the head. As long as Lewis is going to put that left hand down at his hip, Jackson ought to lead with the right hand, right, George?
Jackson could do a lot of things if someone would tell him jab, jab, then do it.
Good counter right by Lewis as Jackson tried to come in. Precise punching by the champion, dominating round 4. But he remains more the cautious boxer than the evil slugger.
All right, Phil. Breathe and relax. Breathe and relax. Slow it down. Slow it down. Breathe and relax. Okay, Philip, come behind the jab. Okay, stay with your jab. You're getting there. You got to break on that jab. Step on the jab. You're looking a lot better now, Philip. You understand? How you feel? Feel good. You're good. You look excellent, Phil. You're getting close and you're still...
Continue to circle. You are quicker than he is. You are stronger than he is, and he cannot pick it up. He's catching hell getting past your jab. Keep the jab in his face.
4 rounds to nothing. Lennox Lewis. Larry, if you don't land punches, you can't win fights. Lennox Lewis is landing all the punches. Phil Jackson's not landing enough. Easy 4 rounds for Lennox Lewis so far.
We agree. You know, while we were trying to analyze Lennox Lewis's style, George, I have a category that I put Lewis in. It's what I call a brilliant amateur category. There are some very great amateur fighters who move up to the pros, and they have such great bodies, such great reflexes, such great will to win, great conditioning, and they fight first not to get hit and then to use all of their reflexes and other skills to win. I think of Roy Jones, I think of Hector Camacho, even Ali early in his career. He just has such superior stuff, and his first thought is, I'm not going to get hit, and I'm going to be able to beat this guy easily.
Well, he's getting hit now, as Jackson has landed 2 right hands in this round. To get Lewis's attention just a little bit, Lewis goes back to the jab and hammers a right hand behind it.
And you notice, whenever Lewis lands a right hand, he never throws anything afterwards. It's like that right hand is in jail. You got to come back with a hook.
He says he's proud of his left hook. You just don't see it coming to the body after the right hand lands.
American fighters are always taught 1, 2, 3. Finish with the hook, get your body back in a position to throw another right if you have to. Good body punch.
Is this better Lewis than we saw against Bruno last fall, or still the same thing?
I think even worse. Lennox Lewis needs to recreate and try to get another trainer to help out Pepe. Pepe is a good trainer, but he needs a lighter guy to really talk that talk to. You can't talk the same conversation to heavyweights. Footwork, drop your hand, trick. There's no Ray Leonard here.
Another right hand to the lower hip by Jackson. No word from Arthur Mercante.
Good right hand by Lennox Lewis.
Yeah, the overhand right. And for once, he followed it with a left, George.
If ever he puts together a right hand and a left hook, we're going to see a different fight.
Lewis putting his hands down to invite Jackson in. Jackson does come in, and then Lennox ties him up. Excitement earlier in this round for the anti-Lewis contingent when Lennox reeled against the ropes a little bit, but now the right hand lands, and Jackson is going to be sleepy for a few seconds here.
5, 6, 7, 8, 9.
Beats the count.
That is the best right hand in boxing right now.
Gets in a couple of good ones after the bell, and the crowd boos. Knockdown won't count. The bell had already sounded. And you're right, George, it's some right hand when he lands it.
Yep.
That makes up for a lot of flaws, guys.
I must say.
Let's take a look at the knockdown and what he landed. There was a right on the ear and a delayed reaction. Like a parachute that opens 10 seconds after before it comes out of the plane.
Harold Letterman, they deducted a point from Lewis for hitting after the bell. Good call?
Well, certainly he did hit him after the bell. Referee Arthur Mercante, a legend in the game, decided to take a point away from it. Phil Jackson was hurt by the punch. I guess he's entitled to do it, no question.
And now with the tape flying from Jackson's glove, he'll get a reprieve for a moment here as they rewrap the glove. This is a tremendous break for Jackson, who gets more time to clear his head.
Let's go.
And now here they'll go with the start of round 6.
Okay, go.
Jackson's still wobbly unless he's playing possum. Lewis not exactly the most graceful finisher in the world, but he's got a lot of leather here. Crowd responds as Lennox takes one in return and suddenly stops punching. Jackson showing some grit.
No matter who you're in the ring with, you got to be a little clean when you try to finish them. You get wild, they're going to get you too.
And that's exactly what happened to Lewis there. Just teeing off with that overhand right. And Jackson takes advantage to land a right of his own.
That Jackson has been a football player. He puts those shoulders into those punches. He can get caught by an accident and drop real quick.
Two solid body shots by Jackson. You think Lennox has punched himself out a little bit here?
Not only that, if Jackson is able to keep putting those body punches in, you can take a lot of that power from that right hand. You got to get low now. Get your head in his chest. Jackson should get low, stay low, go to the body.
The uppercut was a howitzer.
Had a break.
Uppercut's a good change of pace for Lewis, the way he throws that overhand right all the time.
Good, and it hurts.
Right now, Lennox is just trying to whack right hands until Jackson goes out of there. Bill Jackson vowed that he wouldn't quit tonight the way he did against Ruddock, and so far, he's been true to his word. Now Lennox smiles as he steps in and loads the right again. Every time Lennox throws the right, Jackson's trying to get both gloves up around his face.
Now Jackson is doing this round what he should have been doing in the earlier round, keeping his head real close to Lennox Lewis' body while Lewis just well away. But you can't be on the outside, you got to get close.
Jackson trying to turn things around with the left hook. Lewis goes back to jabbing. And Phil Jackson makes it through round 6 and seems for the moment to have weathered the 5th round storm.
Now settle down completely and listen to this. Listen very carefully. Now, we're gonna go back. Look at me. We're gonna go back to the jab and we'll keep this thing in the center ring and loosen him up again. Don't try to get him out this round.
Keep the hands up, okay? When you roll that right hand of his, come back with the hook. His ass is tired too.
What round is this?
He is tired too.
Thank you.
Okay? He shot his wad. He shot his wad. You got to show the heart now. Now, you keep down, Philip. Use that jab. Your left hand is fine, and use your hook when you get close. Hook, hook, hook. Jab and hook. Do you understand? What are you gonna do? You're doing good, Philip.
Body, what you've been working on. He will go down. Go that left foot.
Okay, got it? Come on.
Check this out.
You saw that only one of Lennox Lewis's 20 KOs has come past the 6th round. That was the Bruno fight last October 1, round 7, when he rocked Bruno with a left hook and then pounded against him until the referee eventually stopped the fight.
Lewis just threw a left hook to the body. Very good left hook. Very good left hook to the body. When you're landing good head shots and the guy's not going down anymore, go back to the body. Set it all up again.
Good jabs from Lewis. Left hook from Jackson, followed by another. Tape is wandering down the arm off of Jackson's glove again, and once again we'll get a brief pause.
What's the matter? I want the tape off
breaks
here.
have really helped
I got
Jackson.
it. Let's go.
Tremendous.
All right, let's go. Offense, Philip. Let's go.
Jackson is standing still and fighting Lewis to throw that right hand. You got to move your head, aim that head toward his chest, get it on his chest, and stay there for a while.
Solid right hand again. This time Jackson takes it for the moment, but his legs are wobbly. Legs in trouble.
Lewis is able to just fake that right hand and throw a left hook. He could get a knockout.
Yeah, he had him there for a second. A couple left hooks might have done the deal.
Now
another right hand lands, and another over the top. Legs still wobbly for Jackson. Big opportunity for Lewis if he can find the right key.
Break, step back. Don't hit, not a break.
Jackson hanging on for dear life here in the 7th, but still throwing to the body from time to time.
Come on, let's break when I tell you to break.
Thus far, Jackson's proven he's no quitter.
There's a left hook after the right hand. And there's a left hook from Jackson that snaps Lewis's head back. Good left to the body from Jackson. Suddenly he's energized. Thinking he's got an opening.
His corner told him as soon as you roll that right hand, throw that left hook, he's starting to take that advice, although he's taking a lot of punishment along with it.
All right, break. Step back. Don't hit on a break.
Vicious combination by Lewis. That time, a skillfully constructed 4-punch combination.
And short.
Jackson has 10 rounds to keep I'm going to be ready to stop this fight. But I don't want you looking a little more. Knockout, Lennox.
Deep breath.
Get a deep breath and go back in. Bust his ass up some more with the jab. If you step off that back foot hard, you're going to push his head back and make him want to quit. But when you push his head back, come back across with a straight right hand. Got me? When you step off that back foot, the jab's going to move his head back. Come across with the right hand, left hook.
Round 8.
Now, listen.
After taking some stiff punishment from Lewis, there was Jackson's best punch of the fight, a left hook on the chin. And Harold, 7 rounds, your score, please.
Irish 7-0, 69-61, Lennox Lewis. I got to discuss the scoring in the 5th round for a minute. Lennox Lewis wins the round 10-8 because of a knockdown. Mercante subtracts a point. It becomes 9-8 Lennox Lewis in the 5th round.
Punch stack numbers in round 7. Lennox Lewis landed 45 out of 67 punches. That's 67%. Jab getting sharper for Lewis. He's begun to find the left hook. A little bit of learning on the job here.
As soon as Lewis is hit with a jab, he stands flat-footed as if to say, what did I do wrong? This is why Jackson should jab. Use your jab. If you
Jackson's too busy eating rights and lefts right now, George.
I must agree.
A mercy stoppage might not be a bad idea if this gets any worse. Arthur Mercante in his 113th World Championship bout. Phil Jackson's right eye closing rapidly.
And his mouth is wide open, so he's not able to suck up enough oxygen to give him a renewed energy here. This is why it's awful good to be a skilled boxer. When you see a guy hurt like that, get him on out of there.
Right hand to the body by Jackson. Lewis resting for a moment. Jackson digging to the body with both hands. Pretty gutty performance. And you consider that the guy took a knee against Razor Ruddock just a couple years ago.
He said he wanted to prove to his son, never give up. He had to be the standard bearer for it.
Right hand by Lewis after a couple of uppercuts. Jackson goes down and Mercante has seen enough. Arthur Mercante stops the fight. 1:25 remaining in the 8th, bringing to an end a siege of punishment over the course of the final 4 rounds of the bout by Lennox Lewis.
I thought he looked as good the last several rounds as he looked awkward and off-center the first few rounds.
You agree, George?
Yeah, this turned out to be a good fight. Not only because Jackson was willing to mix it up, get up and mix it up. He made the fight tonight. Action Jackson.
Lennox Lewis immediately dons his sunglasses. Well, you know, it's awfully bright here in the Atlantic City Convention Center. Let's take a look now at the final flurry that produced the knockdown.
And it was that final left hook starting to come in.
And I had mentioned about 40 seconds before that a mercy stoppage wouldn't be a bad idea. Clearly, Mercante was thinking along the same lines, and that knockout was enough to convince him.
There's the left hook.
He started throwing that left hook in the last 3 rounds, and that made a huge difference for him.
It finishes off everything you're doing. A good right hand is not good without a left hook.
All right, let's get the official particulars on this from Michael Buffer.
Congratulations. Ladies and gentlemen, referee Arthur Mercante calls a halt to the bout. The official time, 1 minute, 35 seconds of round number 8. The winner by TKO victory and still the undefeated WBC heavyweight champion of the world,
Lennox Lewis.
A smattering of applause from the largely American crowd for the English heavyweight champion. And there'll be further assessment after this bout as to when and whether Lewis might be ready for a potential title unification bout against Michael Moorer. That'll be contingent, of course, on the question of whether Moorer can hold on to the championship. Lewis was more than ready to fight Riddick Bowe, or so he has always said. We look at final punch stat numbers, and they are a mismatch. Lewis landing 247 blows to only 64 for Jackson out of 471 thrown. For the first 5 rounds of the bout, for the first 4.5 rounds until Lewis got Jackson in big trouble, the overwhelming majority of Lewis's punches were jabs. He landed 158 out of 310. More and more power blows in the closing rounds as he added the left hook to that overhand right, which was, as always for Lewis, the most dominant weapon in the bout. Now Larry Merchant stands by with the WBC heavyweight champ. Larry?
All right, Lennox, you said coming into this fight that you knew you had to be impressive, that you wanted to get credit for being a champion. Give us your take on the fight and how you think you performed.
I thought I performed pretty well. You know, I did exactly what I wanted to do. I got my jab going. You know, people haven't got the opportunity to see too much of me, so I was showing them a bit of talent, showing them some head movements, some speed, and some body punches.
It seemed over the last half of that fight, over the last 4 rounds, you finally settled down to use your jab. You were having difficulty with it early on. Why was that? Was he just still too fresh at that point?
Yeah, he was still too fresh. I realized after, you know, the rapid head movement, it would slow down for a while, and that's when I would catch him, and I took advantage of that.
Was the first knockdown in the first round just a flash knockdown? Were you surprised that he got up so strongly?
No, it was a flash knockdown because I realized, I looked at his eyes and he still looked fresh. I still took my time. As you can see, I didn't go after him really fast. I knew it was going to be a matter of time.
Talk to us about your plans now. Who would you like to fight? What in your big fights coming up?
Well, I've got Oliver McCall to sort out, one of Don King's boxers. And eventually I want to become undisputed heavyweight champion of the world. You know, I don't think Michael Moorer is going to get the respect of the people until he faces Lennox Lewis. So I feel when he turns around and looks in the mirror, he's going to see Lennox Lewis.
Do you feel that you haven't gotten the credit you have earned or deserved because you're not an American champion?
I feel that a lot of avid boxing fans realize who my true talent and what kind of talent I have and who the best boxer in the world is.
Do you think that this performance will help you in that respect?
I feel every performance will help me. This performance is a positive. I went out and I won. I look good doing it, and I feel great.
Thank you very much, Lennox Lewis.
Big up Jayud.
Whatever that means. Jim?
All right, thanks very much, Larry. George, you teach a lot of these guys something about boxing, so give Lewis a grade off tonight's performance, A, B, C, or D.
Look, Lewis has got to get back and get him an extra trainer in that corner. He's got to have somebody to... He reverted back to the old Lennox Lewis to win this fight. It wasn't the old peppy move-around jab stuff that got him out of this. He was in some trouble for a while. Get another trainer to help Pepe out. Don't drop anybody, but let somebody join in.
Let me play devil's advocate. Pepe would say to you that he got control of the bout in the 5th, 6th, and 7th, and 8th rounds because he first loosened the guy up with the jab and then followed with power punches.
Yeah, but he shouldn't say that. Lewis got hit with a lot of important hard shot, and the crowd got a chance to see the unveiling of a very awkward boxer. It's time for him to now regain the old Lennox Lewis that we saw in in the Olympics and then early on HBO. This is a great fighter. I think the best pound-for-pound heavyweight around. He is the hardest puncher I've seen in a long time.
So you would pick him at this moment to defeat Michael Moorer if they had a heavyweight unification bout?
This man hit so hard that I would advise all heavyweights to stay away from him. Should put an X on him, like no smoking, no Lennox Lewis.
Included, right? All right, yep. George, thanks very much. We turn now to Larry Merchant. Your final thoughts, Larry?
Well, early on I said that every heavyweight championship fight, every heavyweight has to go through a process of being judged like the opening of a Broadway show every time. It's not what you did before, it's what you do tonight. And I would say on this that Lennox Lewis had Mixed results, not a great first act, but he sure finished that show with a flourish, and it was, for him, a great second act. I thought what we saw was what and who this fighter is. He's big, he's strong, he's determined to win, he's well-conditioned, he doesn't like to get hit. That's true, and you may not like a fighter like that, but how do you like the results? He can take your head off with either hand. He has shown that to us, and in the heavyweight division, that armor makes up for a lot of chinks.
Yeah, as you said after the fight in Wales, he's got chinks in his armor, but then again, he's got armor. All right, let's get one more opinion before we close down the evening. The former heavyweight champion of the world, IBF, WBA, and at one time the unified heavyweight champion of the world, Evander Holyfield. Evander, first of all, how you feeling?
I feel great.
You are?
Yes.
And happy with your new lifestyle?
Well, you know, I'm blessed, and what can I say?
All right. We wish you the best of luck. We were all, of course, startled to hear about your medical condition and only hope and pray to God that it's going to turn out great for you. You had 2 fights against Riddick Bowe. You fought Moorer 2 weeks ago. Now you observe Lewis at close range here. Who, in your opinion, is the best heavyweight in the world?
Well, it's hard to say because, you know, it's styles that make fight. And I truly believe that Lennox Lewis is a good fight. Michael Moore is a good fight. It's a 2 different styles. Then you look at Riddick Bowe. Riddick Bowe seems to have a style that can compare to anybody. So it'd be a great fight regardless.
If Lewis were to fight against Moorer, Moorer clearly would try to establish that jab that gave you so much trouble. Would Lewis be able to land that overhand right that seems to be his main weapon?
No, I don't think so, but you never know. I think Michael Moore is more of a defensive boxer and a good counterpuncher. And Michael Moore do throw fast combination, and he do hit hard. So either way it go, it'll be a great fight as determined the individuals are.
All right. We'll be looking forward to hearing what you have to say about that later on. How's your son's baseball team doing?
Oh, he's doing great. You know, he hit a double.
All right. Good luck with the coaching. Right now, before we recap the evening here in boxing, a look ahead to what's coming up next on HBO. It's the latest installment of our brand new Friday night talk show entry, Dennis Miller Live. And joining us live from Los Angeles, California, is the host himself, Dennis Miller. Dennis, welcome aboard. What's coming up on the program tonight?
We're going to continue the sports theme, Jimmy. A tough fight there. Looks like Phil Jackson caught more leather than Al Pacino in Cruising.
Very well done.
Nice to see Evander looking so well. I think in history, he's going to look like a lot better in retrospect because he was truly a great champion, I think. A classy guy. It's nice to see he's okay. I was worried about his heart. How you doing?
I'm doing well, and we're happy to hear, as we talk about Evander, only the toughest guy of his era, that you have the very tough Bob Costas of NBC Sports as your guest tonight. Is that right?
Rockin' Bobby Costas, bantamweight out of Ecuador.
Should be there bobbing and weaving. We understand, Dennis, and freely acknowledge from here that sportscasters are now the biggest stars in the galaxy. So we're just happy for you that one of them was available to drop by.
Well, thank you, Jimmy. I understand Costas is signed to fight Hume Cronin for the unified belt. So
you might want to ask Bob when his next movie role is upcoming. I don't know if you saw Bob's appearance in Ron Howard's The Paper. Have you seen that?
I saw him in the bathroom.
Yeah, that's right.
Huge penis. Absolutely huge penis.
It's a pretty good thing for Bob that Paula Jones didn't see that movie because we suspect she'd be suing him if she had.
I'm still recovering from actually saying huge penis on television.
Well, it's cable, Dennis. You know, I mean, I'm not sure that on your old late-night talk show...
I didn't say cable.
Well, at any rate, we'll look forward to more fireworks of similar ilk. Any final note you want to offer to the audience before we go away here, Dennis?
Tune in. We'll be back. Do we have a few minutes between shows? How long?
We got about 45 seconds, Dennis.
All right, so 45 seconds. We'll be back. We're going to talk about, is Frank Merriwell dead? What the hell's happened to the American sports hero with Bobby Costas? So please join us here on The Best Times on TV, HBO.
Welterweight out of Ecuador. All right, Dennis, thanks very much. Dennis Miller Live, coming along next from Los Angeles. You heard him, Bob Costas, the guest. As a member of the sportscasting fraternity, I couldn't be more proud of the kind of exposure that Bob's going to earn for all of us tonight. Meanwhile, a look back at what happened here in Atlantic City on this doubleheader night of boxing here on HBO. First, it was Kevin Kelly, the Flushing Flash, defending his WBC World Featherweight Championship in a fight in which he was knocked down early by Jesse Benavidez, but came on to pile up points in the later rounds and earn a unanimous decision, 38th win in a row for Kelly. And then it was WBC heavyweight champion Lennox Lewis defending his title with an 8th-round technical knockout of outclassed challenger Phil Jackson, a fight in which Lewis piled up huge numbers in punch-stat categories against Jackson and ultimately whacked him out of there with the right hand. Coming up immediately following tonight's coverage of World Championship Boxing, stay tuned for Dennis Miller on the East Coast and New Jack City on the West Coast. Next month, the return of Riddick Bowe, the former champion's first fight since his stunning title defeat by Evander Holyfield last November. Don't miss the comeback. Riddick Bowe against Buster Mathis Jr., Saturday, June 11, live here on HBO. So now for Larry Merchant, George Foreman, and Harold Letterman, I'm Jim Lampley saying so long from Atlantic City, New Jersey. The executive producer of HBO Sports is Ross Greenberg. Tonight's coverage of World Championship Boxing was produced by Rick Bernstein. And